I believe it was Robert Frost who said, "I'll take the path less traveled," and that's the path that Michael Waltrip has gone on. He did one and done.
I think it was more of a case, let Mikey try it. Mikey will try anything.
Michael Waltrip in that Aaron's Camry has decided to do the one lap and done, which he has the front end completely taped off. He got up to speed and went right to the bottom of the racetrack and hugged the bottom on his first qualifying lap, stayed there the whole time.
Here's what he just figured out. That's a good move for Talladega.
And that's where it worked for Jeff Gordon. Maybe not so much for Daytona. But again, a sixth-place qualifying mark for Michael Waltrip, 47.220. Let's go back trackside to Ralph Shaheen.
We're down here with a Daytona 500 winner. I know you can never say that enough, can you, Trevor Bayne? Right now, number 2 on the board there. What do you think of that?
Man, that's not bad. We didn't go as fast as yesterday, so you always want to go faster in the real thing than you do, during practice. But it's a lot hotter out here, and so the temperatures are a little higher on the engine. Probably slowed us down a little bit. But I'm pumped for these guys. They always build me great race cars. But if you notice at the pole here, it doesn't really matter where you start as long as you're in the race, and we're in the show. So we're ready to go here, and I think we can have a really good car in the draft. I only went out and made one run in the draft yesterday, so it's hard to tell. But I think we got a good hot rod again.
Not only is it a fast car, man, it's a good-looking car, too.
I want to go back to Michael Waltrip's run, because if you think about Denny Hamlin, another Toyota who ran 2 laps, his fast lap was 47.14. Michael only ran 1 lap and is 47.22. Talking to the Toyota camp, I don't think they expect no spectacular qualifying effort, but we know, a lot like the Dodge camp, when they drop the green flag tomorrow night, they'll be headed to the front.
Yeah, well, it's a trade-off. The tape on the grill, better aerodynamics, and less drag, so you should go a little faster, and that's the trade-off. Little tape open, leave the grill open, you can run 2 laps.
I think Harvick may be doing the same thing here, because he's been running the bottom of the racetrack.
Down to the bottom for Kevin Harvick. He goes 47.272 on his first lap. And will he stay in the gas? Looks as though he's going to through 1 and 2.
Well, it looks like he's going to run a second lap, but what we'll see, what he picks up on lap 2 will not be that much of a pickup because of where he ran the first lap.
Right. He came down to the bottom of the racetrack on his first lap of qualifying and now has stayed down on the bottom for his second lap and is picking it up. The problem is, how much tape do you have on the front of these race cars, and are you throwing water out?
It doesn't really matter. You're not going to blow out. You don't see any coming out now, and it's not going to blow that much out.
But I think the reason that he ran so fast on the first lap was not because of the tape. He ran around the bottom of the racetrack.
I don't know what he did, but I liked it.
Second quick for Kevin Harvick, 46.924 on that second lap.
In his pickup, instead of being at 3/4 of a second like we've seen from the top to the bottom, was somewhere just a little over 0.3 of a second.
Impressive run for Kevin Harvick, a little bit out of the box as far as the way he qualified here at Daytona. Kevin Harvick, one of the former owners in the Camping World Truck Series. And speaking of the trucks, July 14th, they head to Iowa. Always an interesting race when you throw 36 trucks on a short track and see what happens. And that's exactly what we're going to do July 4th at 8 o'clock live on Speed.
And we'll either see if Martin Truex Jr. follows suit with his teammate Michael Waltrip, or did Rodney Childers or did Chad Johnson run out there and start pulling tape off the nose of this race car?
Yeah, I think it's still a toss-up, Larry. I don't see any advantage. I like what Harvick did. That worked out okay. But it still seems to me conventional wisdom has always been here at Daytona, maybe Talladega different. Run that high line, get her wound up, and then run the second lap.
And Michael Waltrip said earlier in the week, and I actually talked to Martin Truex Jr. just this morning, they are very, very close to getting the contract extension put together, not only with Martin Truex Jr., but also with Napa Auto Parts, a package deal.
Napa on the hood of the Toyota Camry. Martin's piloting around the racetrack here. On the clock, staying up on the high line through 1 and 2 and down the backstretch. Looks as though he's going to do the conventional style of qualifying here at Daytona. Stay up against the wall, try to get the momentum up, as much RPMs as he can as he comes out of turn 4, and then he'll drop to the bottom of the track.
And Martin Truex Jr., he's only made the chase 1 year, and right now We're 9 races before the chase, and he's sitting 8th in the points. But the good news is 53-point cushion over 11th, which is more than 1 full race.
But looking for that win. Everyone looking for that win to feel like they have a little more security to be locked into the chase.
Well, even if you're in top 10, you need those bonus points. So, you know, you need wins.
And that's why Keselowski now wants to work so hard, because he has 9 bonus points in his pocket if he can indeed stay in the top 10.
If the chase started right now, he'd be the point leader.
Right. And that's what he missed out on last year, because he was the wild card recipient into the chase, and you don't get to utilize those wins as far as bonus points if you're in the wild card position. Martin Truex Jr. coming back for his 2nd lap inside the top 5. 18 cars have been on the racetrack. Martin Truex Jr. slotted 4th in the fastest Toyota that has been out there, 47.060 on lap number 2.
That's about 2/10 quicker than Michael's run, where Michael ran just a 1 lap on the bottom. Martin ran the conventional way, and he was 2/10 quicker on that 2nd lap. So then Michael's 1 lap run. So it looks like there might still be something to running that high line on the 1st lap and getting that momentum up.
Let's take a look inside what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. How about most laps led among active drivers at Daytona? This guy right here, Tony Stewart, 643 laps. He's been able to be out front and has always been good at the restrictor plate racetracks. Get unlimited access through the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
And I've said this about a number of the guys that run well here, but Tony's one of them. Some drivers just have like a sixth sense about where to be. They used to say Earnhardt could, you know, see the air.
Right.
Well, I think that might be a stretch, but I surely believe he could feel the air. That's why Dale liked to lean over on that left door with those bubble goggles and that open face helmet. He could feel that air coming down the side of the car better than he could with a full face closed helmet. So you can feel it. And if you've got that sense and you know where it is, it's kind of like knowing where to throw your fishing line in to catch a big fish, you know. If you got that sense about you, it's going to make you really, really special here at Daytona.
And being someone who hasn't been behind the wheel of a race car, I've always asked, is it that feeling when you're driving down the highway and you get behind a big semi and you feel the buffeting? And most of you drivers say, no, you just feel the sucking up behind the vehicle in front of you. It's not that rough, but it is a feeling that you can feel what is happening with your race car as the air is working around you.
Yeah, well, you can use the air to your advantage. It'll pull you by that big truck if you time it right. Or you can stall out and sit there and shake behind that big truck like you're talking about.
Tony Stewart, on his first lap, he was 12th quick. Drops to the bottom of the racetrack for his second lap, and right now tracking pole.
Yeah, for the driver that ran the high line, I would have to say that's the fastest first lap that Tony Stewart just cut here. And ran 49 laps in that first practice yesterday, made some long runs, and they elected not to even run that second practice last night.
Well, you know what's funny about this team? They came out, man, and they won 2 races right away, start the season. And then they kind of went into a lull there. They had some problems. The car didn't run good, didn't handle good, didn't look that good. But, man, after that break, it seemed like they did a little bit of work after a few races there. Look at it. He's going to go right down on the apron here and really see if he can cut that second lap.
He'll be quickest, 46.787 for Tony Stewart.
But this team over the last several weeks, they've been on their game.
Tony Stewart has been to victory lane 3 times at Daytona in the Cup Series, but not for the 500. Bobby Labonte bringing his Toyota Camry across the stripe for his second lap of qualifying, and probably not something that he is going to be happy about as far as the 20th place qualifying run, and only 20 have gone out there and didn't pick up a lot from lap 1 to lap 2.
He ran the bottom both laps, which was actually a pretty slow lap to run the bottom, especially when you look back at what Kevin Harvick ran on the bottom on his first lap.
Well, the guy who is fastest in qualifying, Tony Stewart, I believe, is with Ralph.
We're just joking around down here. What'd you tell me they did? What did they do to the car this time?
Well, you asked me if I did anything different. I said I held it wide open, and you asked if they did anything special. I said, yeah, they gave me full throttle this time. So, so my reward is I get a Coke Zero for this. So,
Oh, nice. Worked the sponsor there. You're getting good at this.
That's well worth holding it wide open for.
Okay, well, thanks for pimping our coverage coming up this weekend. Tell me about that #1 time up there. Do you think it's going to be good enough when we're all done?
There's a lot of faster cars behind us, so we'll see. I'm proud of our guys. It's been a long month. We've had a lot of stuff going on. They've been doing a great job. So the days like today, as far as you are up on the board, is a reflection of how good a job your guys do at the shop. And everybody at Stewart Haas Racing is doing an awesome job, and everybody at Hendrick in the motor and chassis shop's doing an awesome job. So we're real appreciative of that.
Yeah, it looks pretty good for now, Rick.
Yeah, Ralph, and the other thing that comes into play, normally in these qualifying sessions, it's the slowest to the fastest from the first practice. And that's similar here, but the numbers are a little tainted because that first practice there was drafting that took place. So a guy that may have been in the back of a draft and got a run was able to get to the front and put up a good lap. He might not be the fastest car, single car runs, but in that draft situation, he posted a big number.
Oh, yeah, there was a guy on Twitter yesterday. The two petty cars were first and second. I said, but they won't qualify that fast. He got all over me because he said I wasn't a petty fan. I said, dude, you don't understand.
Yeah. Dale Jr. on his first lap, 18th quick at 47.897.
Yeah, that's not a real impressive first lap for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Of course, he was all the way at the top of the racetrack.
Slips into the top 10 on this second lap, trying to hang on to that top 10 spot as the tracker running right at about the 7th position.
Yeah, these guys were fast down here in February. The Hendrick cars were really good.
Which, when you think about it right now, that's Hendrick engine packages that's first and second with Tony Stewart and Bill Elliott, and that 50 car is second right now. We were talking about this in practice yesterday. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished 4th at Kentucky. That his 7th top 5 finish of 2012. He only had 7 top 5 finishes total in 2010 and 2011 combined. So no question this team, they're light years ahead of where they were the last couple of years.
Yeah, it really looks like he and Steve Letarte are clicking right now, and this team positioning itself for a great run in the chase. Again, Dale talks about, and you see the smile on his face when you talk about that win that he got earlier this year. He says, that's what I race for. I want to go to victory lane. I'd like every single week to be able to get to victory lane. So they work extremely hard as a team, and he does as a driver as well.
I like his confidence. I've never seen him more confident than I see him right now.
Dale Jr. was 8th quick in his qualifying run, 47.158. His teammate, Jimmie Johnson, heading out onto the racetrack now.
You know, Jimmy's going to run this 400-mile race tomorrow here at Daytona, and then he's going to travel to Charleston, South Carolina. He's going to compete in his very first triathlon in Charleston on Sunday.
And that's not easy to do. Swim, ride a bike, and run.
I couldn't tell you about none of those.
But just think about that. He's going to run 400 miles here in this heat. So, you know, it takes a lot out of you. You can, you know, we're on the verge of being dehydrated, tired, and you're going to get up and go run a triathlon.
And some tells me it'll be a little warm in Charleston on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, and you'll be waving to everybody, too, keeping those, well, they call them no-see-ums away.
That's one of the things that I think Jimmie Johnson doesn't get enough respect for, is how good of an athlete he is. I mean, he spends a lot of time working out, making sure that he's as fit as possible, because it is very draining when you run a race like this.
Chad told me, he said, you know, all the other drivers talk about Monday and Tuesday, they rest. Monday morning, as soon as first thing Monday morning after a race, Chad is in, or Jimmy's in the workout room, pumping iron, riding a bicycle.
Well, the media asked him, said, well, why would you do a triathlon, especially the day after a 400-mile race in the heat here at Daytona? And he basically said, it's just a great way to keep my training fresh, and more than anything, a new way to have some fun.
Right. Jimmie Johnson, 47.768 on lap number 1 of qualifying. That's 18th quick.
You know what I'd like to do? I wouldn't mind watching him have some fun.
Sitting in a lawn chair, waving at him.
Buddy, I'll give him a little water as he went by.
Cheer him on. Jimmie Johnson's success here at Daytona, went to victory lane in 2006. That big Daytona 500 win.
Now that first lap is about 3.5 to 4/10 slower than Tony Stewart's first lap. Jimmie ran a 47.76. You can see he's tracking just inside the top 5.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmie Johnson's teammate, was 8th quick, and right now
Dadgum.
Johnson going all the way to the apron.
Man, that takes some skill right there. Let me tell you, you're coming down there at 200 mile an hour and you're down on the apron at Daytona. That's treacherous.
Quite a transition, and that's very flat. Very flat going through the tri-oval here. Jimmie Johnson 5th quick in his qualifying run. Stay with us, more here on Speed. Clint Bowyer after that big win out on Sonoma. Now taking on the 2.5 mile tri-oval here. Daytona International Speedway for his qualifying run. His first lap, 47.899. 20th quick.
You know, he had a little bit of a hiccup at Kentucky last week. He ended up finishing 16th. He ended kind of a victim of the whole Ryan Newman-Joey Logano. But Brian Patty did tell me they had another tire going down when all that was going on. But aside from that, during the month of June, Clint scored 191 Sprint Cup Series points, second only to Jimmie Johnson during the month of June, and climbed from 12th to 7th in the points.
Yeah, anytime you can get inside the top 10 in the point standings with just under 8 laps or 8 races remaining before we get to the chase, you've got to feel a little more comfortable about you're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think he and Brian Patty are just starting to really come together and working well together now. Had a little getting to know each other at the beginning of the year, but they're there now. Definitely.
Clint Bowyer 12th quick in his run. Tonight, get fired up for NASCAR trackside, and I use that word fired up. Juan Pablo Montoya is going to be joining the group and having a little fun as they talk about, well, his hot ride back in that Daytona 500 earlier this year. Again, that's trackside tonight, 6:30 Eastern. Ralph Shaheen, who have you caught up with?
Down here with Jimmie Johnson, who's talking more about getting ready for his triathlon than his car's performing. He must be going pretty good in the car then, huh?
Yeah, well, there's only so much we can do here. But decent lap. You know, we're not really sure what to expect. Speed-wise here, we really don't work on speed for the pole, but we're going to have a great race car come race time. So excited about Sunday. It's going to be fun. There's a big group of guys going to go and see what we can do in our first try. And until then, we'll go fast and slow Chevrolet.
Okay, so I know Chad and the guys got the car good. Are you ready? Are you organized for this triathlon?
It's going to be interesting. I feel like we're organized, but for a group of rookies, there's bound to be a few mistakes along the way. And I'm sure the transition areas will be quite entertaining, watching our group come in and out, trying to change from one discipline to the next. It should be pretty entertaining.
Been a while since old 5-time called himself a rookie.
Don't those guys, don't they shave their heads and like shave so they aerodynamically are slicker and get through the water better? And,
sometimes. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think when you're competitive and you do that on a regular basis, maybe you do that. I don't think a guy that's doing a one-off is going to shave.
You don't think so?
Shave the hair and everything else to try to streamline himself. Juan Pablo Montoya streamlining that 42 to 19th quick on lap 1, 47.733.
If it's me, I'd at least put 5-time in my beard.
You think?
Yeah.
Maybe you could do that 4-5-time.
No, not me. Not me, brother. You don't mess with another man's beard. That's just not possible.
Yeah, Juan's first lap 47.73, but it definitely jumped to the left on the tracker on this second lap. Got 4 out of the top 5 right now is out of the Chevrolet camp.
Juan Pablo Montoya finishing up his qualifying run. We see potential top 5 starting position for him. He crosses the stripe. A big pickup for Juan Pablo Montoya. 46.978 for JPM. Still to come in this qualifying session. We got Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Newman coming up.
When a checkered flag waves tomorrow on this 400-miler, we're officially halfway through 2012. And when you look at the season and a half, only one driver's won more races than Brad Keselowski, and that's Tony Stewart, with his 7 wins between last year and this year.
And 5 of those came in the chase. You think that's ever going to happen again?
I never would have. I didn't think it would happen when it did. So
50% of the chase races, one guy won.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see a chase like that again. when the two guys that are fighting for the championship are at each other week after week after week.
And tie.
And then end up in a tie at the end of the season, you're never going to see that again.
Yeah. Very, very incredible finish to the 2011 season, and it was Tony Stewart who ended up in victory lane. But it's Brad Keselowski right now that has the hot hand, as he has 3 victories already in 2012. Just moved himself into the top 10 with that 3rd win. And Brad Keselowski on lap 1 goes 47.666 and tracking up in the top 3 now on lap 2.
The old car looked pretty fast going by here.
And I know we still got a number of drivers to go, but I think this would be really huge for the Dodge camp, because I know talking to the 2 Dodge teams this morning, the 2 Penske teams, they were not that optimistic that they were going to lay down a really fast qualifying lap, but right now looking pretty sporty here on lap 2.
But I think it just says a great statement about Roger Penske. You know, they're leaving the Dodge camp, going to Ford next year. They haven't given up on anything. Engines, cars, championship. That's Roger Penske. He's a classy guy, and he'll fight to the bitter end.
And across the stripe, spewing water out at the base of the windshield there. Keselowski goes 3rd quick, 46.910. So just over a 10th and a half behind what Stewart was able to post.
Yeah, he breaks up that little Chevrolet party there, because of the top 5, 4 Chevrolets and now the Dodge in 3rd.
And quite honestly, you know, people talk about, well, they're going to throw away all. You don't throw away the cars. You just change the sheet metal. I mean, they probably can just change some parts of the sheet metal. Won't have to change it all. So it's not. You can build a brand new car for Homestead if you want to, and you'll be able to use it next year with no problem.
Yeah, changing the sheet metal, which everyone's going to have to do for the 2013, and then adapting their chassis to go from the Dodge to the Ford engine.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. Like, I mean, this year, everybody's got to change sheet metal. So it's really not that big a deal.
We'll stay on the theme of change right now as we have Matt Kenseth on the racetrack. And the big story coming into last week was Matt Kenseth no longer will be with Roush Fenway Racing at the end of 2012. He is heading off to a different organization. Hasn't answered the question as to who it will be, but has said he has a deal in place that he will race for someone else in 2013.
I think we know who it's going to be. I just don't know if we know how it's going to be.
Yeah,
I think that's the holdup.
The details have not been given out yet, but yeah, the rumor early on is Joe Gibbs Racing is where Matt Kenseth will head in 2013.
Yeah, I think it, you know, trying to work things out with Joey and Home Depot and the whole 9 yards. I think that's where maybe some hangups are right now. Get that resolved, we'll know what Matt's going to be doing. But seeing number 17 on the racetrack, tomorrow is my wife's birthday. And just want to wish her a happy birthday.
Very good.
Because when I won the Daytona 500 in 1989, if it hadn't been for her math and
that's right,
and figuring out the gas mileage and talking Hammond into going for it, I don't know if we'd have won that race or not.
I didn't think he was going to give Hammond credit for it there for a minute.
Well, I think you should give Stevie credit for it.
Well, she told Hammond when it was when it come down to the end there, she said, "Look, we figured out ways to lose this thing. Let's try to figure out a way to win one."
No pressure, Jeff. No pressure at all. Matt Kenseth, first lap was 24th quick. Now tracking in the top 5 for lap number 2.
That's a good run right there, boys.
This is a
going
good
in the
lap.
right direction.
But you think about it, Roush Fenway Ford's had a lot of speed down here in February. Yeah, Matt Kenseth won the race, but they swept the front row in qualifying with Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle.
That car right there is squeaky clean, I'm telling you. She's coming. She's coming, boys.
Out of turn 4, can Kenseth take the pole away from Tony Stewart?
Yeah, baby.
Down to the apron he goes. Yes. Does he get it? Yes, he does. 46.781. It took him 6/1000th of a second to outdo Tony Stewart, but that's exactly what he has done in that run.
And that's not the car he won the Daytona 500 in either.
That one's parked over in
right behind us.
Yeah, back here in the parking lot. Wow. Daytona, USA. A couple more big names coming out on the track next. Jimmy McMurray with the Bald Eagle riding alongside on that race car. Goes 20th quick in his qualifying run, 47.231. Now let's check in with Ralph Shaheen.
We're down here with Brad Keselowski. He's getting ready to tweet. He just crawled out of the car, I'm sure. Let's talk about the run. Obviously, a lot of momentum for you and your team right now. How'd you feel about the performance in qualifying?
Well, you know, you try not to put too much stock in qualifying at a plate track because, you know, usually by the middle of the backstretch it means nothing. But, you know, Daytona over the last few races we've had, track position has been a little bit more sensitive without the, you know, tandem. So hopefully that'll be worth something. And I'm proud of our effort. You know, qualifying-wise at the plate tracks, it seems like we always end up somewhere around 13th to 18th. And looks like we're going to be a little bit better than that today. So I'm proud of my guys for that. And that's improvement. I like it.
Back to the front of the qualifying line. Here's Matt.
Well, Ralph, David Gilliland a year ago almost won the Great American Race, finishing third in the 500. So how impressive was this car in practice yesterday? Confidence appears to be high all around the team.
Yeah, practice was really well yesterday for us. We got Glory Foods on board this weekend. I think the car looks good. We were talking earlier. I think if the car drafts half as good as it looks, we'll be looking really good. So our car had really good speed. We ended up 8th, and just kind of went out and shook it down. We have pretty good confidence in our Speedway package, and everybody at Front Row Motorsports works real hard on our Speedway program. So we're excited to have our new partner Glory Foods on board this week, and hopefully we can come out here. This is one of the weekends that we feel like we come to the racetrack and have a shot at winning, so got to capitalize on it.
They felt like they could go from the front to the back and make their way back to the front at ease. This car sucked up so well, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Now on the racetrack in that Subway Ford Fusion, Carl Edwards, his teammate, currently on top of the charts at 46.781, but maybe not the first lap that Carl Edwards was hoping for there, 47.712.
Now, I know he was all the way up the top of the racetrack, but still a ways off of what Matt Kenseth ran.
I was going to tell Rick that it's good to have a car that'll suck up.
Yes.
You need a car down here that'll suck up.
Well, all I know is that tracker is definitely moving to the left. Not sure he's going to get to where Matt Kenseth, his teammate, is at. Seeing a lot of water coming out the base of the windshield. You can also see the tracker going to the right. Real quick, NASCAR race day that comes on tomorrow afternoon on Speed at 4:30. I'm being told they're going to interview Carl Edwards about that whole post-race interview from the TNT broadcast last week, where he was talking about they were starting to not be on the same page with each other as a race team, and then I'm sure Darrell and the boys will break that down.
So Carl Edwards, after being 27th quick on lap 1, improves to 6th quick, 46.946 for Edwards. His teammates still on top of the charts. Matt Kenseth up there. Quaker State number 27 of Paul Menard just finishing up his qualifying run. Currently 7th quick. His second lap, 46.953, over 191 miles an hour. Let's go back trackside to the guy who's fastest. He's with Ralph Shaheen.
Yeah, number 1's in car 17 right now. Tell me about that time. You feel confident with that? Is that one strong enough?
The thing is none of us have any idea, to be honest with you. So they lined up qualifying in order of our first practice times, which everybody was drafting. So you really don't know who's fast, who's slow. You have no idea what the pole will be. So it's kind of interesting to watch. So so far so good. Jimmy and them guys did a great job with our Zest Ford. So hopefully he'll stay up there somewhere. I feel like we got a really fast race car for tomorrow night.
Matt.
Ralph, when you look at restrictor plate racing, and Jeff, some guys, they have to build up to really finding their comfort level and to score wins. You seem to really do it right out of the box with a 125. Now it's called the duel, a qualifier win here your first year in '93.
Yeah, you know, that one surprised me. I mean, it just I think it just shows the kind of effort that Hendrick Motorsports has always put into these restrictor plate races, especially Daytona for the 500. And you know, for us with this Pepsi Max and now Chevrolet for this July race has always been a big deal to us as well. So again, these guys have prepared a great race car. I have no idea how we're going to qualify. We didn't make any qualifying runs, but I know it's going to be fast, and certainly felt good in the race runs. But I've always loved drafting. It's changed so much over the years. This might be kind of getting back to the way that I learned how to draft with the opening and the spoiler and the restrictor plate and different things, this combination. So hopefully that suits well in the race, but we're certainly looking forward to it. It's going to be a great weekend.
Now you got two guys up in the booth who've won the Great American Race at least one time, and they want to know your strategy for qualifying, 1 or 2 laps.
Well, first of all, we need to clarify something. I think at Talladega, it was, I ran the bottom, but I ran 2 laps. I didn't run 1 lap. It was 2 laps, and it was fastest on the second lap. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us do something similar to that.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so he clarified. I'm glad he did that.
No, that's good.
Down to the bottom of the racetrack for the first lap, and then it was fastest on his second lap. And we see his teammate Casey Kane now tracking pole.
You know the moral of this whole story? You cannot go visit Michael Waltrip before a qualifying session anymore. You got a lot of bad information.
How about this, though? Good information for Kasey Kahne. Oh, he goes to third quick. Drops back just as he came to the stripe. 46.804, but a great qualifying run for Kasey. He's the fastest of the Hendrick Chevrolets.
Yeah, it's so tight right there. 46.78, 46.78 with a 7, and a 46.80. So that's why the tracker is kind of not sure where it wants to be. It's so tight.
Jeff Gordon was talking about that 2-lap qualifying effort at Talladega, and we've been talking about maybe guys going just 1 lap straight to the bottom, and only 2 drivers have tried it. Kyle Busch currently 15th quick and Michael Waltrip 21st quick, but still pretty good laps. I mean, Kyle Busch turns a 47.134. His teammate, looking on the chart here for Denny Hamlin, was actually just a bit slower and did 2 laps. Casey Mears out on the racetrack now for his qualifying run in that Geico.
Had a really good qualifying run in Daytona 500 qualifying back in February. And the other thing about this little race team, I was talking to this group earlier this morning, they've had 3 consecutive top 20 finishes. And when you look at how many drivers can go to victory lane in Sprint Cup, we've had 12 different winners this year.
Yes.
Quite honestly, a top 20 finish by a single car operation is actually pretty good. And
I think they've gone through a bit of a transition, don't you, Larry? They went from the Toyotas, switched over to this full-blown Roush car now with the Fords, and probably taking Booty and Kasey a little bit of time to figure the package out. Booty Barker.
Yes.
The crew chief.
Still looking for that first top 10 finish for Casey Mears in 2012. But as you mentioned, Larry, knocking on the door. Last 2 races, 15th and 18th.
And you can see occasionally you get a good shot of a car coming down the short chute there toward the start-finish line, how these cars are skewed to the left.
As opposed to what we normally see to the right.
Here you're trying to get rid of downforce, so you skew it to the left. On a track where you want downforce, you skew it to the right.
The other thing we haven't talked about, the changes that were made last week for the Kentucky race, where the side skirts are actually just a little bit shorter. That has stayed the same. It's not going to make that big of a difference at a racetrack like this, but that package is the same here at Daytona as it was a week ago.
Yeah, it is. But here with those softer rear springs, they almost had to trim the side skirts off anyhow because they would drag. So in the rear sway bar rule, you can't run a rear sway bar here, so that's no effect.
See a little water spewing out at the base of the windshield for Casey Mears as he goes 5th quick on his 2nd lap. 46.891. So we've got a Ford up top with Matt Kenseth, and now Casey Mears in his Ford 5th quick. There's 3 Chevrolets in the middle. Will a Ford get the pull at Daytona? Go back to pit road and Ralph Shaheen.
Rick, let's talk about tape a little bit more. Right now, Brad Keselowski is 6th on the list. Take a look at how they did the front of his car. Here you see A.J. Allmendinger's car taped up, but check out Keselowski's machine. Well, you think there's no tape on there? Actually, it's completely covered. That's one gigantic sticker that they've come up with to go over the grill, so it looks like the grill is open, but it's exactly completely sealed off. Pretty interesting move on the marketing side these days.
You know, Darrell, if you think about it, we used to play some similar tricks. We would use clear tape. And that way the competitors couldn't see how much tape we had because it would look like it was open.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about that. Did they make us quit doing that?
I don't remember us making them quit using clear tape. But worked out pretty good for Brad Keselowski because he did run 2 laps and he's 6th quickest right now.
A.J. Allmendinger running up the high side of the racetrack on his first lap of qualifying, tracking back of the field.
We're talking about Casey Mears getting on a little bit of a roll. A.J. Allmendinger starting to come to life here lately with that 9th place finish at Kentucky. That's 2 consecutive top 10 finishes for A.J. Had a top 10 out at Sonoma on the road course a couple of weeks ago.
Here at Daytona, he's got a best finish of 3rd, but that was back in 2009.
Yeah, it looked like he had a good race car for the Daytona 500 and was caught up in an accident on pit road with Ryan Newman. Had to go to the garage area and replace the radiator and a lot of other parts of the front end.
Starting to move to the left.
First lap 34th quick for Allmendinger, 47.747. Just 6 cars remain to go out on the racetrack for qualifying.
I gotta believe that the temps have come down, track temps and outside ambient temperature. That's got to be helping these guys here at the end of this session.
And Darryl, you mentioned earlier about looking at the flags. I mean, they're still moving around, but I almost think for July conditions are almost optimum right now.
They really are, Larry. And the wind was pretty strong there for a period of time, but it's a pretty gentle wind right now.
And A.J. Allmendinger goes 6 quick on lap 2, 46.901 for A.J.
Yeah, 9 1,000ths separate the two Penske Dodges.
That's teamwork.
The last of the Hendrick cars going out as you talk teamwork. Tomorrow, NASCAR race day, it's a must-see as our own Darrell Waltrip sat down with Richard Petty, the King, and Jeff Gordon, 4-time. As the Ultimate NASCAR Roundtable took place, we're going to break down the race and make who will make the chase. NASCAR race day, that's fueled by Sunoco, tomorrow 4:30 Eastern, live on Speed.
He's not even doing his coming to get the green. He's on the bottom from the get-go. He's committed.
Yeah, he's not even going to wind it up at the top, but I know we'll be getting ready for our TNT broadcast, but I'm anxious to try to catch that segment on race day, because when you think about those 3 drivers, 14 Sprint Cup Series championships, 369 Sprint Cup Series wins, and I think it's 17 wins at Daytona between those 3 guys.
That's not too bad.
Not a bad track record.
Well, it was one of those interviews that you just didn't want to stop. Sure. I mean, we I don't know how much they'll use, probably 2 or 3 minutes, but we talked for, I bet, close to an hour.
And that's the key right there. It wasn't really an interview. It looked like you guys were just sitting there talking at the table, talking racing.
And Richard is so much fun when he's in a good mood and wants to talk. Like he was that day, and Jeff was the same way, and we just had the best time sitting there telling stories and talking about racing.
When I look at where this tracker's at right now, about halfway through Jeff Gordon's first lap, this is going to be a pretty sporty first lap. He's running the bottom of the racetrack, but he pretty much told Matt Yoakum that's what he was going to do, is something similar that he did at Talladega.
Now, he'll pick up a little bit on the second lap. That's going to be the big question, though, is, you're going to have a good first lap, but where's it going to go from there?
First lap is 17th quick for Gordon, 47.131.
And there she goes.
Now, what's interesting about that first lap, that's almost exactly what Kyle Busch in the 18 car ran on his first lap, but he only ran 1 lap.
Only ran 1 lap, didn't try for the second lap. And we're seeing already Jeff Gordon tracking in the top 10.
I believe what I'm seeing, we'll see how he comes off turn 4 here, but it looks to me like that strategy that he used at Talladega, he might want to just use that at Talladega.
And potentially it doesn't work at Daytona like it did at Talladega, where you run both laps on the bottom of the track.
See what he gets up off 4 here, if it picks up anything.
It's going to be in the top 10, but I don't know if it's going to crack the top 5. It did crack the top 5, though. It
goes
did.
to 4th quick for Jeff Gordon, 46.860. So a top 5 qualifying run for Gordon, as we have just 5 cars remaining in this qualifying session. Matt Kenseth still the fastest car at 46.781.
And that's why I couldn't, when I said that, I said I better wait and see what he does off 4 down here to the line, because the tracker was trying to move, but it wasn't doing it yet. So strategy seems to work okay. Like to see him go right back out and do it, wind it up one time and drop to the bottom and see the difference.
As you mentioned, he even ran get up the speed lap on the bottom.
Yeah, he left pit road. He never went up to racetrack or anything. He was committed.
6 times Jeff Gordon has won at this racetrack.
He's pretty good here.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good here.
Now it's Greg Biffle's turn on the clock with his 3M Ford. His teammates up top with Matt Kenseth running a 46.781.
You know what else Jeff Gordon has done here that he's never done anywhere else? Turned over.
Which I don't think any driver likes to do anywhere.
I think he said, I have to check with him, that he never even turned over in a sprint car.
Yeah. I believe I remember hearing that, where he said that's the first time I've been upside down in a race car.
In the Budweiser shootout just this past February.
Yeah.
Yep. A very impressive career, and for it to be just in this most recent year that he had for the first time ever been upside down in a race car is pretty amazing. Greg Biffle tracking back in the mid-30s on lap number 1, again running that high line for his first lap.
Greg sat on the outside of the front row for the Daytona 500, ended up finishing 3rd. This is the same car that he ran in the 500 and also finished 5th with this car at Talladega back in the spring.
That Daytona 500 still haunts him, mainly because people just won't let go of the fact that everybody said he didn't try to pass his teammate Matt Kenseth. And they asked, so why didn't you try to pass Matt? He said, because he was faster than I was.
Because I couldn't get to him.
Catch him.
Couldn't catch him. And right now, tracking top 5 for Greg Biffle, and a big surge to the left for that 16 car. We'll see if he can catch up to his teammate.
33rd on that first lap, but he pretty much was using all of the racetrack. He was right against the wall all the way around this 2.5-mile track.
And now closing in on that double yellow line at the bottom of the racetrack.
Thing ought to start moving off 4 right here.
See if it tracks back to the left, if he's got anything for his teammate. Down to the apron he goes. Will that help out Greg Biffle? He goes 4th quick. Bumps Jeff Gordon to 5th, so 46.841 for Greg Biffle. Let's go back trackside to Matt Yoakum.
Rick, back in May, Eric Almirola had the Air Force colors on the pole at the Coca-Cola 600, another event that's very patriotic for our country. You are the last guy to go off. Right now the sun is out, but judging from my Florida State meteorology class, you're going to get the money cloud by the time you go out.
We'll see. Mike Ford and all the guys on this U.S. Air Force team have done a good job. We got a really fast Ford Fusion, so all that goes back to all the guys at the shop at Richard Petty Motorsports and all the guys at Roush Yates Engines giving us a lot of horsepower. So we'll see what we got. I think we got a shot at it. These deals, you never know. You just go out. We didn't make a qualifying run yesterday, so we don't really know. But just proud of all the guys at Richard Petty Motorsports. I think we got a shot at it.
How has Mike Ford helped elevate your program?
He's just made everything better. I've been able to lean on him from his experience and his leadership and stuff. So he's helped me a lot, not just a crew chief, but just as a leader and somebody to lean on that's got a lot of experience. So he's been great to work with, and hopefully we'll go out here and get him a pole.
Mike Ford, a wealth of knowledge, got quite a few wins with Denny Hamlin, who's with the JGR team. Now we see Ryan Newman on the clock. Ryan has a win here as well, the big Daytona 500 win back in 2008.
Now, it looks like Ryan Newman's going to run this first lap high. And we talked about this earlier, and I know we've got 3 or 4 drivers to go. The only advantage, like Jeff Gordon, who ran that first lap low, is you're traveling a shorter distance. And it's less time to heat the water up, because we spoke earlier. You start getting over 260, your power starts going the wrong way. That's the only advantage that you can come up with that would pay to run the first lap on the bottom.
I just like it. People are, want to try something different.
Sure.
Like I said, conventional wisdom is you run a high one and a low one. But I just like when somebody says, I don't think I'll do that. I think I'm going to try something different.
How about this little tracker on Ryan Newman? Think about it. His teammate Tony Stewart right now in the 14 car is 2nd quickest, and you can see right here that he is tracking all the way over. Ryan's been trying for a while to get that 50th career pole in Sprint Cup.
Well, I think you said a second ago, though, I don't think the weather could be any better for July down there than it is right now. The track temp's got to be way down, the ambient temp's down, and Ryan's was on a pretty good run.
It fell back the wrong way as he started off into turn 3, especially in the middle of turn 3 and 4.
3rd quick for Ryan Newman. That could end up being his best start ever at Daytona. Coming into this, it was 7th. We'll see if he can hold on to a top 5 starting spot.
He and his teammate, 7.87, 7.89.
2 1,000ths of a second separating Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman.
And the 2 Dodges are teammates. They're 901 and 910. So teammates working pretty good together today. And Kenseth and Biffle pretty close together.
Race fans, Speed has teamed up with your favorite tracks to offer amazing ticket deals you can't get anywhere else. Go to speed.com/deals. Check out our incredible inside deal for Watkins Glen International.
I'll tell you what, I've been watching, you know, Bill Elliott went out real early.
Yep.
One of the first cars out, and he put up a lap, and he's still sitting right there in 7th place. That's a pretty good effort by that team, by the Turner Motorsports boys, to put Bill up there like that.
One of the go-or-go homers was Bill Elliott, and he posted that big mark, as you mentioned, currently 7th. Now it's Joey Logano's turn on the clock. And again, we talked earlier about Matt Kenseth leaving Roush Fenway Racing, and the early stories are that Matt will end up at Joe Gibbs Racing, and the question mark now is, will it be in the 20, or will Matt end up in a different car and Joey stay in the 20?
I know in the perfect world, with what Joe Gibbs said in the rain delay at Michigan, that I think he'd like to see enough sponsorship in place to run all 4 drivers. Sure. Because right now you get a feeling he has 4 drivers and the ability to run 3 race teams right now, as far as in Sprint Cup.
Right. Joey Logano, first lap, tracking just in the 40th range. His first lap 38th quick at 47.746. Now a strong move to the left as he drops to the bottom of the racetrack into the top 15. We see sparks out of the back of that car, and that's something you don't want to see at a place like Talladega or Daytona, because that scrubs speed off of what you're trying to do.
It's just like hitting the brakes. When the car, something under the car hits the track, it's just like dragging the brake.
And that's one of the first cars I've seen do that. In fact, I saw him do it through 1 and 2 on the first lap when he was all the way up at the top of the racetrack.
And this is not a rough racetrack by any stretch of the imagination, but there are still bumps here.
And you have to have the appropriate amount of air in the rear tires too. We come down there one time, we were all qualifying with the rear tires about half flat, trying to get the back of the car down.
Across the stripe for his second lap, he goes 18th quick, 47.064.
He will be the fastest of the Joe Gibbs drivers. They're all right there together. Joey's 18th, Kyle Busch is 21st, and Denny Hamlin's 22nd. One thing we do know, Roush Yates' horsepower will sit on the pole.
That's right.
For this 400-miler. There's 2 more bullets down there, and both of them are Fords with Roush Yates' horsepower.
Marcus Ambrose in that DeWalt Ford, making his way out onto the racetrack now. And he has been really lighting it up in qualifying as of late.
And I guess it's safe to say that the track record for a restricted engine won't be broken today.
I think you're correct in saying that.
Which I was thinking it might based on yesterday. But
right. 196.996 was the record.
Yeah, that's a 45.68 by Kenny Schrader back in 1989.
And they're almost a second off of that now. 46.78 is the mark that Kenseth has posted.
But the things we could do to those race cars then to make them go down a straightaway.
Big difference.
I could go down there right now and just we ran the spoilers on 10 degrees. I mean, they were laid, they looked flat. It looked like you wouldn't even need one. You go down there and take the rear blade on these cars right now and do that, just lay the spoiler down, they'd probably run that fast.
Second faster. Marcus Ambrose's best finish here at Daytona, 6th back in 2009. The best he's ever qualified here has been 7th. That was earlier this year.
Right now, I think to be a pole effort, it's going to need to be a little further to the left of this first lap, just with what we've seen so far.
And Joey Logano was hovering around this same area on his first lap.
Yeah, 39th on that one.
38th for Ambrose, goes 47.703 on lap number 1. Logano just picked up to 18th quick. We'll see if Marcus Ambrose, who's now tracking in the top 10, can hang on to that and actually move a little bit closer to the left.
Well, it's going in the right direction as he heads onto the back straightaway with this number 9 Ford.
He'd have to pick up a second.
Right now we've got 3 Fords in the top 10. Kenseth at the top, Greg Biffle 5th, and Casey Mears at 13 and 8th.
Well, one thing he and Almirola both know is they got fast race cars because they led the practice speeds, both of them did, at over 200 mile an hour.
Out there in the draft, and Ambrose across the stripe moves all the way up to 11th quick, lost a little bit as he came through the tri-oval. So Ambrose at 46.918. Currently your top 16 have all broken the 47-second mark. Again, led by Matt Kenseth at 46.781. The final car making its way out onto the track. As you mentioned, the final bullet for Matt Kenseth. Can he stay in front of Eric Almirola and grab the pole here at Daytona?
He surprised all of us at Charlotte when he grabbed the pole for the 600. So we have to wait and see here.
And with that being Memorial Day weekend, the car had a very similar look, had this U.S. Air Force paint scheme on it.
Had a pole here in the Nationwide Series back in 2007. So he's not foreign to starting up front at Daytona.
You know, it's funny to me. I listen to cars. I just kind of do. That's what I've done my whole life. And all these cars have the same basic tailpipe system on. They all run out the right side by side. But some cars just sound so much better than others. Some are clean sound and the engine's crisp. Others are, I always like to say, sound like they got a war going on inside the pipe sometimes, rattling around. This one sounds pretty clean.
But we see him tracking back there, almost the slowest of the cars that have been on the track.
Yeah, he was a good ways up the racetrack through turn 1 and 2. Let's see what he does down in 3 and 4. You know, the more drivers that go, of course, obviously the further to the right you're going to be on the tracker.
This will be a big indicator as to how comfortable Matt Kenseth can be when he comes across the stripe as he comes out of 4. This is his first lap. We've seen guys make some pretty dramatic pickups on lap number 2, but we haven't seen anything this dramatic. If he would be able to unseat Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, he's right there with his teammate.
Goes 47.722.
His teammate ran a 47.070 on his first lap, and that's a 7.2.
He's got a half a lap to go. I don't think Matt Kenseth is going to have to worry about this lap right here on Eric.
Trying to break into that top 20 for Eric Almirola. His best starting position at this racetrack was 11th back in 2009.
Well, somewhere in a motor coach, an owner is grinning because his new driver, Matt Kenseth, will be in the shootout next February.
You going to tell me which motor coach?
Probably got a Redskin license plate on it.
And they may be doing a little home improving over there, too, you know.
How about Matt Kenseth, though, as we see Eric Almirola gliding around the track, 18th quick in his qualifying effort. Kenseth gets his first Daytona pole in his 26th start at Daytona. How about this for a front row? Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart. A lot of history there between those two veteran drivers. It is Kenseth's 8th career pole. It's the second time that Tony Stewart will start on the front row this season.
And Matt Kenseth will attempt to become only the 5th driver in the history of Daytona to sweep the races in one season here at Daytona.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where Matt Kenseth has just won the pole for the Coke Zero 400, which will be run tomorrow evening. Let's hear from him. He's with Ralph Shaheen.
First time he's won a pole here at Daytona. Congratulations, Matt Kenseth. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it does feel good, but I really had nothing to do with it. So it's really all these guys standing behind me and everybody at Roush Fenway Racing that prepares these really fast race cars, and especially Doug Yates standing over there giving us the power. So it's all about you know, getting the car right and having a big motor to run those 2 laps. So pretty thankful to be driving this thing. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
Yeah, sweeping Daytona would feel pretty good too, and you're going to have a lot to do with that. So tell me about what you're going to have to do to win this tomorrow night.
Well, I mean, you know, racing and qualifying here is definitely a different story, but yet in impound configuration, it certainly tells you that your car has enough speed. So this car ran terrific at Talladega for us. I had a little bit of damage, and I didn't do a good job in that last restart keeping Greg with me, and I feel like I lost the race for these guys at the end of that at Talladega. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I think our Zest Ford Fusion's really fast, and hopefully we can do the right things and keep it in the front.
As you start to think about that, what kind of conversations will you and your teammates have tonight about the race tomorrow? Any?
Probably not a lot. I mean, I've raced with them guys for a long time. You never know how the race is gonna unfold at Daytona and at Talladega. Greg had a really strong car, and I was able to work with him at both of them races, and we're able to get our cars together, which made both of us the fastest. So hopefully that'll happen again. Both of our cars seem to be really fast this year, so hopefully we can get together at the end, and hopefully one of us have a shot at.
Well, congrats on the pole, and best of luck tomorrow to Matt Kenseth.
Thanks, Ralph. We saw in the background there the cat in the hat. Jack Roush smiling as he has another pole. It's the 83rd career pole for Roush Fenway Racing, as we see your starting grid, Golden Corral starting grid.
They're row 4 there, Bill Elliott. He hadn't had a top 10 start in a couple of years, and little old Casey Mears in that 13 car there on row 4.
Well, they're a perfect pair. They can hook up and work together.
And you got a couple Hendrick drivers that were nose to tail there. A couple Fords nose to tail on this side. Marcus Ambrose, Carl Edwards.
2 Dodges there side by side. They can work together.
It's all about working together, but more in the Cup Series, it was pack racing and when to make the right moves.